Hey, so it's lunchtime on day 9. I haven't checked in for a couple of days because, to be honest, my work has been incredibly boring. That's the only way to describe it. I've been painting the doors. I decided in the end not to touch the stern of the ship yet, and just to get the doors completely done because they're the most boring part, and really it's best to get those kind of jobs out of the way first. Most boring because there's 150 of them, and any operation that you've got to do, 2 minutes per door, that's 300 minutes, 5 hours, so it takes forever. So I've been up here for like 14 hours a day for the last 4 days, and I finally, as of about 5 minutes ago, finished painting the doors. That's not been great, but equally that's always been the longest and most frustrating part of doing the spaceship, is this middle section where anything you do is at least 50 multiples. So, as soon as I can get that out of the way, I'll feel better with the rest of the ship. The good news for me is that the decals turned up this morning, a day early, which is brilliant because it means I can move straight on to doing the decals on the doors. Great. Because each door has 2 decals on, the middle ones do, so that's 200 decals right there. Then there's another 50 on the bottom doors, so 250 decals to do just on these parts here before I can even get on to the rest of the ship. But, I'm feeling good about it. I've got a test piece drying on the windowsill at the moment to make sure. The best technique for decals is to start off by painting the area where you're going to stick the decal to gloss with acrylic varnish. I'm using Vallejo, but any acrylic varnish will do, hard coat or something like that. Wait for it to dry fully, thin coat just to make it shiny. Then you put the decal on as you would normally, water-slide transfer. Wait for it to dry completely. Then paint it with Decal softener, which is stuff that most gamers haven't really come across. This is Revell Decal Soft is what I use. It comes in a little glass jar like this with a little paintbrush in the lid, one of those. And you just paint it on. What it does is it actually melts the decal down onto the surface, because normally around a decal you'll get kind of white bubbles and things where the clear section where air behind it shows through. So this melts it on and gets rid of all of that. Really good. And then the last thing to do is to brush paint, or in my case airbrush, matte varnish on top to get rid of any trace of the gloss that you put down before. And then the net result is a decal that A, won't fall off, and B, looks like it's been painted on. So it's a really good effect, and hopefully it works with these decals. I've never done custom decals before. We're actually using this as a test run, and if it goes well, then we'll probably end up doing decals for some of the races for Drop Zone at least. So this is really a test for test purposes, so hopefully if they behave like the decals that I'm used to dealing with Airfix kits in the past and stuff like that, then all will be well and I'll carry on. I'm here, I'm going to stay all night up in the office, and there's a camp bed up here that I use occasionally, so it's always good to get those really late ones in early in a week when you've got deadlines like this. It's really important not to do an all-nighter at this point, because then it destroys you for the rest of the week. But if I'm going to do a few long days like 1am, 2am, I can do that, then still get a decent 5 or 6 hours sleep, and then carry on the next day not feeling too tired, but getting those long days in early and hopefully using them to get rid of this bulk decal business. So once I'm done with that, I can then put these small doors back on here, because I had to take the pins out that held them in, so I'll need to re-drill the holes for those and put those back in. Not a massive job. Put the bottom doors back on the hinged, and hopefully my new individually hinged doors will all work. I'll find out then. Then I've got to turn this back up the other way, seal in the bottom half of this, because I've sealed in all of this as well. I've done a bit of painting on this too, so I haven't just been doing the doors. Then once that's done, I can then get on with actually painting the chrome on the rest of the ship, which isn't too much of a job. I'm going to have James in maybe tomorrow, maybe Thursday, to paint the albatrosses for the hangar, because he painted the ones, or him and Simon and various helpers did the condors last time round because there was such a rush. So I don't want to do them myself because I'll end up spending too long and they won't look the same as the Condors. So I'd get James to do the albatrosses. Then really it's just a case of filling in the gaps, and I've got to do a few other things like find some torpedoes because it's got 4 torpedo tubes at the front and I'm not sure how to do that. So I might look at sort of cosmetic products and things, find something with sort of like domed lid that I can use for a torpedo, or just make them. I could just sculpt them if I had to, but that would take longer, so we'll see what I can do. So this is Tuesday now, lunchtime, so I've got a long day today, then all of tomorrow, Wednesday, then Thursday. Friday I'm going to help the lads to load the van to go to Salute because you set up on the Friday. So that'll be some of Friday taken out, but I probably won't go with them to actually set up. The hull and the stern need to be completely finished by then because they need to go in the big van. Then I can stay here and finish the engines off, which I think will be the last part. Then the engines can go with me in a car on Saturday morning, and then all I've got to do for set up on Saturday before the show opens is to put the spaceship together and make sure it all works and turn all the lights on and pray, really. So it sounds fairly easy, but it probably won't be, but it'll be fine. I'm going to get on with it now, have my lunch and do these decals. Hopefully the softener process will work. I'm about to find out, so fingers crossed. Well, that ended up being about 1:30 last night, but finally, at last, the doors are finished. You can see the decals went on very nicely. They really lift them up, really finished them off very nicely. Took me a little longer than expected because the top layer of matte varnish actually showed up some air bubbles underneath, which happens sometimes and easily corrected just by popping them with a pin and then resealing with decal softener, which you can do on top of matte varnish. It actually works its way through and finishes okay, so no big problem. So now they're done, I can finally get them off the desk, move the main hull forwards, fill in the last remaining details on there. There's a few little scanner domes, stuff like that, nothing too major that need doing on those. Then the aim really today is to get this whole lower hull section off my desk so I can finally get onto the stern, which will be a lot more fun and I'm hoping a lot quicker. It needs to be because this is Wednesday morning at the moment, 9:30 a.m. So there isn't that long left. So it's crunch time now. So yeah, I'm going to get on with it and I'll check in again later.